Track.
It's be on the beat.
How you supposed to have light if you got solar missing? Everything seem bright with solar vision. Whole court and a witness, nobody know this missing. I'm my own judge, jury, and the co-defendant. It ain't an idol if it's solar image. Get to the core, my nigga, no pretending. Hotter than Jamie Foxx on a solar mission. Melchizedek, no beginning nor an ending. Ain't no need to study long if you gon' study wrong. Got me chasing the ghosts with no lully bones. Blew a hustle anywhere but never hustle home. Mama prayed for his soul cause he ain't coming home. Watch you doctrine get demolished. Bluetooth polish for YouTube scholars. I do for knowledge, not no stupid dollars. My new provider make them hoop and holler. In the lead for the light bringers, Illuminati. You ain't doing nada and blue ain't bother. Can't be rolling with you with no stupid maga. No Candace Owens, I don't do Kamala. Free flowing out this new Kabbalah. Lumen in the garden, hit a human olive. And you can get this stick with no soup and salad. Blue seek asylum on a Cuban island. My newest challenge is live a long life. Can't nobody live it for you, you gon' live your own life. Right place, wrong time, I'm in the valley where the bones dry. I prophesy to the bones ride. How you supposed to have light if you got solar missing? Everything seem bright with solar vision. Whole court and a witness, nobody know this missing. I'm my own judge, jury, and the co-defendant. It ain't an idol if it's solar image. Get to the core, my nigga, no pretending. Hotter than Jamie Foxx on a solar mission. Melchizedek, no beginning nor an ending. Wake up, Jacob, tell him it's urgent. Identify me by the blessings, never the curses. Walk on water, but I never submerging. You a goon on Zoom, but never in person. My verses merge with the ancient letters. My rating's good, but my rank is better. You soft as Wayne and baby's leather. If I bring my best, you can't do better. Local native, surrounded by the foreigners. The throne of David, the crown is Moorish. I can anoint the babies and crown the poorest. I'm rolling out, I found the forest. Lex told me keep a head and a leg up. Y'all rob with a tank at your head, bruh. Consul told Blue keep your bread up. Seen solar at the door like lead, bruh. Yeah, I'm shooting for the top like Rick Berry. Sneaking baseline, tryna rip Parrish. This is where your talking points get perished. Just to be a champion like Chris Harris. How you supposed to have light if you got solar missing? Everything seem bright with solar vision. Whole court and a witness, nobody know this missing. I'm my own judge, jury, and the co-defendant. It ain't an idol if it's solar image. Get to the core, my nigga, no pretending. Hotter than Jamie Foxx on a solar mission. Melchizedek, no beginning nor an ending.
Peace, peace, peace. What's good, man? Sheesh. Y'all niggas, bro. So you got this nigga coming on here. I don't know how long he was on. A man, Shanara said he was on for 4 hours crying. Nigga, hold that fucking L, nigga. Fuck you on here fucking crying for, then you don't really want to do a real breakdown of the debate. So what we're going to do, we're going to use this to do a real breakdown of the debate. You don't go on here calling, you know, throwing shots everybody when somebody give you that smoke. You run like a little hoe ass bitch. And you're, oh yeah, that's all I needed to hear. These are the same niggas that voted for your hoe ass. Oh, now it's rigged when you lose. So all the motherfuckers that was all in your ear, go follow them niggas. We don't do that over here. You know what I'm saying? This ain't the first time a person with a big YouTube. Gorilla Hebrew had issues. He wasn't acting like a hoe ass nigga like you was. But we don't do that over here. You don't get no extra cookie points because you got a nice platform or a platform where you got a larger following than over here. You don't get cookies for that. We have people with bigger platforms than you over here, bro. Taharka Bay was over here. Gorilla Hebrew. So we don't do that over here. So go over and run to your channel. You know what I'm saying? Go suck off the titty of Cynthia G. Go ahead and suck off the titty of Cynthia G on your channel with that bullshit. If you want to do a real breakdown of the debate, we could do a real breakdown of the debate. But nigga, you started calling names, calling people bitch ass, pussy ass nigga. So you expected to come. I'm not gonna come on and be patting you on your ass after you just said the Izzy debate league, dickhead. It was not one Israelite judge up there. You dumbass nigga. Matter of fact, the motherfuckers, all of the judges are in some ways against the Bible. Even Bashir, from a perspective of he believed that the Bible was a tamper-with book, you know, from his Islamic perspective. But Melvin and Daniel Heru is against the Bible. You idiot. That's number one. So your whole conspiratorial shit is just you bitching because you lost. And we're going to show you why you lost. Whole ass nigga think he going to come on here, come on an argument league, name the title the Izzy Debate League, throw all types of shots. And then when a nigga give him that same smoke, he turn around and start bitching. At that point, it ain't even about the debate at that point. You're not going to come on here, oh yeah, I ain't got to listen to you. Yeah, because you're under the titty of Cynthia G. Yeah, you ain't got to listen to me. Go ahead under the titty of Cynthia G then. You got to listen to her ass. So take your ass over there then, nigga. You know what I'm saying? You know, nigga come on here crying and shit, then expect everybody to be patting him on his ass. No, we don't pat you on your ass over here, nigga. You gonna hold that motherfucking L, nigga. Now, if he would have came on and said, look, why the judges all chose, or why the judges all had a tie, I wouldn't have had a problem with that. But that ain't what he did. Oh, the Izzy Debate League, it's some conspiracy to get me. It's some conspiracy to get me. You know, conspiracy to get your ass, nigga. These are the same motherfuckers that voted for you. Remember, Melvin voted for you in the Doma debate. Remember, I voted for you in the blue debate. No, the niggas trying to like flex and shit. You know, this ain't no disrespect to Cynthia G. You know what I'm saying? There ain't no disrespect to her. But he was trying to flex. I don't need to, yeah, go over and run over there and suck off the titty of Cynthia G. You don't come on here throwing shots. You don't come on throwing shots. I'm gonna throw shots back. I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit about who you is. I don't give a fuck about who you is. If you're gonna have a breakdown, you're gonna have a breakdown respectfully. In terms of the league as a whole. Now he could have said what he wanted about the judges. I wouldn't have had a problem with that. But once again, even the blue debate was questionable in terms of who won the debate. So the system is the system. Deal with it. Hold that motherfucking L. That's what you need to do. Hold that motherfucking L. And every time he got caught on a point, he tried to make it personal. Nigga admitted that that was a problem. You don't see that putting holes in your argument. And you know why? Because, you know why he had to do that? Because of the stance that he took. And that's why I said your whole stance had holes in it. And he'll get mad and then throw a personal shot. So, what I want to do at this time is I'm going to now go into the round that I was speaking of, the round that was that I wanted to go into, and show what each argument was. Because I could sit back with all that being said. and I could fairly assess each person's point, because he had a point that he was making. He had a point that he was making for his Anonymous not emphasizing on the moral standards, or exactly what that is. That was a point that he was trying to make. So we could deal with that. You know? Hey, Shannara, bro. Come on, bro. I mean, this is what it is, bro. Like you tripping. This is for the people, bro. I mean, this is not really. I mean, the judgment is the judgment, but this is for the people, bro. This ain't even about, you know. Really, it's not personal. But I'm going to check a nigga if he get disrespectful. Nigga get disrespectful, I'm going to check him. This ain't personal. No, I'm gonna get what I want to say across, because this is for the record. I'm doing this for the record. Yeah, this nigga coming on here like disrespecting the league, disrespecting the commissioner. Oh, I'm a whole ass nigga now. This the same nigga. Come on, fuck out of here, nigga. What you talking about? You know what I'm saying? Well, call it what you want. Call it what you want, nigga. Call it whatever you want. What the fuck you talking about? You know, so he think that he gonna sit up on the channel, throw shots at the debate, and throw shots at the league, and mute motherfuckers out. Go run into your channel and do that shit. Oh, you ain't gonna do that shit over here. So the round into question was anonymous premise round. So he was asking, show me something, and this is what he was trying to run from. Show him some examples that he was using. He showed many of examples. And he not only dealt with the examples, he went into the areas of activity, you know, and he broke it down that way. So he showed many examples. So you running on here crying about, you know, it's all good. You can run on here and cry, and I, like I said, if he came on here and talked about the judges and how he was upset that they all said that it was a draw, cool. I wouldn't even came on. But he's trying to get conspiratorial, like niggas wasn't rocking with him and fucking with him and all that bullshit. You know what I'm saying? When niggas was fucking with him. Nigga, you, and even with all that being said, nobody said that you want to debate, bro. The motherfuckers wasn't saying you want to debate. He said, bring Domo on. Domo said you lost, bro. So let me go ahead and share screen. I ain't gonna be here on it too long, but I do want to. I'm gonna get my motherfucking breakdown of this shit. So
created the term ethnic studies to replace the more pejorative minority studies, because the word minority is a tool of white supremacy to keep you thinking that you are what? Less than the racists and the white supremacists.
Nathan here, that was an example. Another example was Muhammad Ali.
What about Muhammad Ali? He gave up everything, went to jail simply because he wanted to go against white supremacy. Ali was found guilty of draft evasion and stripped of his boxing title.
Now, what I think that Anonymous should have done, now that we got Taz whole ass out the way, now let's give a real breakdown. What I think that what Anonymous should have done was, even going back to Nathan here, you know, and Muhammad Ali, he has it right here. It says Ali shocked the world again when he refused to report after being drafted into the U.S. military, citing his religious beliefs and opposition to American involvement in the Vietnam War. So, he's saying that, you know, with the information that you're saying, he's saying that, you know, due to his beliefs or his moral standards, that prevented him from being involved in the Vietnam War, and he stood on that, and he was able to, you know, push the envelope as far as, you know, activism, and so this would be another example of that. But what I think that he should have done to re-emphasize his point is lay down the moral standards. Like, well, yeah, it's a belief in the Nation of Islam that the white man is the devil, and because that the white man's the devil, that was his moral standards, and his moral standards, you know, as a result, you know, made him go against the Vietnam War in the draft. You know, so that is a good thing. Now, in terms of, you know, yeah, they should focus on that. Yes, that should be a focus. That should be something that we focus on. Right? So the area of why that's important should have been re-emphasized on the part of Anonymous Hebrew, and he should have laid down exactly what each particular person that he was using moral standards was, as far as their religious affiliation or their political affiliation, and how it was used to combat white supremacy. Because this is an example, but I don't think that he did a great job explaining it. But he does have the basic elements. And okay, Muhammad Ali is an example, you know, obviously because he was a part of his religious beliefs, as what it says, that being him part of the Nation of Islam. So it could be, it's things that you could insinuate, which if a person that has knowledge on who Muhammad Ali is and the Nation of Islam. But let's say that it was a person that don't know nothing about Muhammad Ali, which is very rare, but a person that doesn't know nothing about Muhammad Ali, it was vanilla, you know, it was really vanilla what he showed, like, you know what I'm saying, pertaining to, like, you know, his religious affiliation and why, you know, okay, he want to get to Vietnam War, so what? But he should have put it together in the sense, like, you know, combating white supremacy, you know, and, you know, maybe throw a little bit in there about the Vietnam War and how it was a form of, you know, neo-colonialism, whatever spin he wanted to do with, and so this is what the judges were saying, you know, it was a little too vanilla.
Because he refused to go to war. Why? Because he said, he also pointed out that black men were disproportionately drafted and killed in Vietnam. What about labor? What?
Okay, so that was a good point that he made. So his moral standards, you know, of him being in the Nation of Islam, you know, prevented him from being one of the casualties in a war that was to further white supremacy, because they actually were disproportionately killed. I guess they put them in the front line or whatever. So he didn't really have to deal with that because of his moral standards. You know, so should we focus on moral standards? Muhammad Ali did, and it probably saved his life. See, that's how you're supposed to break it down. You're supposed to sell it. And I don't think that he did a great job at selling. It definitely wasn't an A. I mean, I would say maybe a B minus, you know, at best. C plus B minus way of selling it. Now but did he give examples? He gave a whole lot of motherfucking examples. You know what I'm saying? So that's what he said. Well, show me where he gave an example. And that's why he didn't want to go to this. He showed a whole lot of motherfucking examples. You know, that wasn't the issue. Here's another example.
What about Philip Randolph, a leader of the Brotherhood of the Sleeping Car Porters, right? The first predominantly black labor union granted a charter from the American Federation of Labor. This means he's making jobs in a time where they don't want to give black people jobs. What about Margaret Burnham?
See, now once again, he don't really go into how his moral standards. You know what I'm saying? So he has to go into the moral standard. Now, I know that, you know, he said it in his premise round, you know, as far as what the standards is, you know, the standards is, you know, and how he's defining that. So it's inferred, you know what I'm saying? But you can lose people, dumb niggas like Taz. It goes over his head that once you infer it, you know, once you made the statement, that everything after that is going to be supporting that statement. See, dumb niggas like Taz, they don't really get that. And maybe in terms of explaining it to like people that's viewing, you know what I'm saying? You want to re-emphasize the point to make it absolutely clear and don't leave any holes for a misunderstanding. You know what I'm saying? So this is what Anonymous Hebrew failed to do. Like, you gotta, and I do that because I know some niggas, they don't get shit. You know what I'm saying? Or sometimes, you know, when you're listening, sometimes it go past motherfuckers. And then let's take, you know, let me take my ego out of this. Let me take my ego out of this. So sometimes when you make statements that sometimes people don't really hear everything. You know what I'm saying? So that's why you gotta re-emphasize the point each time. And I would have did it to the point where it was being redundant. You know, I hate to be redundant, but you know, his moral standards, as what I defined, is blah 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 blah. And he, you know, was a leader of the Brotherhood of Sleeping Car Porters, and the first predominantly black labor union. And the reason why he did this labor union, and the reason why he constructed this labor union, because he had these set of moral standards. You know, it was these set of moral standards that motivated him to doing this labor union. This is what I would have been doing, and each time I would have been emphasizing that aspect of the debate. You know, he's a leader, he's focused on changing moral standards, and the thing that he did helped black people. So this is why we should focus in on the moral standards. So this is what I think Anonymous should have been doing. He kind of was showing the black leaders, you know, he made the statement before, but he was showing the black leaders, and it could get lost in the sauce.
In a time where they don't want to give black people jobs. What about Margaret Burnham? She was the first judge appointed to the Boston Municipal Court bench. We got people. Because
this is why Taz is saying. Taz is saying that, like, for example, this guy, you know, the guy that you just used. Now, Taz could have been saying, I'm using the same guy to say that, you know, what he don't have any moral standards. What were his moral standards? No, he's focusing in on white supremacy. This is Taz's argument. He's saying that, well, you know, this guy is just focusing in on white supremacy. So that's why they kept on saying that they agree. You know what I'm saying? Oh, we agree on that point, like that guy. But what Taz is saying is that, well, you never showed, you know, how the moral standards, you know, what moral standards that he have, you know, that prompted him to do all the shit that he did. And his argument is saying that, well, white supremacy is what our focus should be, not changing the moral standards. So the understanding of what moral standard was up. That was the debate. They both was on here showing, you know, that's how I turned it to the white supremacy and I agree shit, because the meat and potatoes of what the disagreement was behind this understanding of what the moral standards was. Because obviously what you're seeing with Taz, he showed a religious aspect of moral standards, and Anonymous took another definition, which he included at times religion, but he had another set definition of what he considered to be moral standards. That was the area of disagreement, you know. So now you have him showing to support that argument, and Taz could actually show this same thing to support his argument. So this is why I'm saying, like, you know, but Anonymous did mention that, how he defined moral standards. So me, being a listener, I understood that, okay, he's saying this, and now everything that he's showing is to support that, but it should have been emphasized. You know, it should be, because Taz Taz, when he's looking at this, he's like, well, that's what I'm saying. You know, I'm saying that this guy, he's not focusing on, you know, whether you're Israelite and any of that shit. He's making this corporation to help black people. That would be his argument, you know. So listing the set of moral standards and how it is effective and how it helped to shape his understanding. Obviously, with Muhammad Ali, it was a little easier. You could do it without really doing it, you know, because his religious beliefs prompted him. But that has to be emphasized. Just like in this situation, they have to be emphasized that, you know, what set of moral standards prompted him to do the things that help black people. Because when you show that, that shows that him focusing on his particular moral standards help the black community. So that would answer the question: should black leaders focus on changing moral standards of the black community? Yeah, because if everybody thought like him, you know, Crenshaw, then they will be more productive, you know. So this is how you got to sell that shit, you know what I'm saying? And the judges felt as though Anonymous, you know, he showed examples and he went through the motions, you know, but he did not go in as what I believe Daniel Hayru said. He didn't go in for the kill. And let this be known, like all of them across the board thought that Anonymous had the information. He just didn't go, this is what they're saying, he didn't go for the kill, you know. So, you know, yeah, and I agree with that. I agree that, you know, in terms of, you know, understanding, you know, re-emphasizing the point. That's something that should.
In a time where they don't want to give black people jobs. What about Margaret Burnham? She was the first judge appointed to the Boston Municipal Court bench. We got people who are out here. I'm not saying all our leaders are great, but you telling me that this is not influential? That this is not attacking white supremacy? White supremacy don't want us in no position of being no judge? What do you mean?
Yes, it is influential. And yes, it would in many ways attack white supremacy to have a black person up there that's for the, you know, betterment of the black community. But once again, it should be emphasized. What set of moral standards prompted her to do those things? What was her value system? You know, show how she was for the black community. And as what you said in the definition, it don't have to be a religious moral standard, as what y'all agreed on. Y'all agreed that okay, this is what moral standards is. You know, it supersedes any religious or political affiliation. So you need to put that down, because I mean, it goes without saying. Obviously, she has a value system that she has, and you know, that she has in place. You know, she has a value system. It really goes without saying. But in terms of a debate, you know, you have to definitely emphasize the point. You know, because for a person to have, you know, do the things or do action in itself, a proactive thing, they have to have a set of standards and value systems. Like, you know, I'm not going to be running out there in front of, you know, hypothetically speaking, like I'm not going to be out there, you know, doing a nonviolent protest and get sprayed down with water hoses and going through all that shit just for nothing. Must have a set of standards and a moral value system that I stand on. And I stand on that so much that I would definitely, you know, take that, you know, water hose or whatever, the dog sick on me, because I stand on this moral, you know, principle. This moral principle of you're not going to treat me like that. That aspect needs to be emphasized. You know what I'm saying? But once again, when you see them out there, you know, it goes without saying. Like, you know, they're out here for a reason. They have certain things that they disagree with. Those set the standards of what they actually believe in and what they're going to die for. So those will be the principles, the precepts of moral standards. So I understood what you were saying. But once again, in terms of the debate, you have to re-emphasize those points, you know. And like I said, I would do it to almost to the point of redundancy. Every time I would bring up that particular person's set of values, their set of moral standards, you know, their code of ethics, what motivates them, you know, because that is the meat and potatoes of the debate.
What about politics? What about Shirley Chisholm, the first African-American woman in Congress the first woman and African American to seek the nomination for the President of the United States.
And this was really easy. I mean, Anonymous, you kind of made it a lot harder than what it was. You know what I mean? Because you could literally just went from a Christian standpoint. Like, yeah, they were raising, because most of these people were raised in the church that you were showing. Yeah, this was their foundational set of principles, and you really could have went the religious route. You know what I'm saying? You know, you thought too much on the top. I think you thought too much on that. Because really, the easiest road would have been just to go the religious route. Because it really, you know, I mean, it would be hard to definitely rebut. I mean, it's like, okay, Shirley Chisholm, she was raised in the church. In the Bible, it says, do unto others like you should be done to yourself. Or you can take a verse out of the Bible and say, you know what I'm saying? You know the Bible much better than me. So I like, you know, took a statement out the Bible and like yeah, she stood on those principles, those moral principles. And this is why that motivated her to do this, to be the first African American and blah, 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 blah. And yeah, that was the easiest road. But I think you did too much thinking on it, and you felt as though you don't really want to go too religious with it, you know, in the sense of, you know, because it was a moral standard or whatever, you know what I mean? But, yeah, you made it a lot more harder than what it was, you know. And this is, once again, this is what Imam Bashir was saying, you know, which was the only religious judge. You know, the other two was non-religious. So it was like, you know, yeah. You know, Shirley Chisholm, you know, was the first African-American woman in Congress and the first woman and African-American to seek nomination for President of the United States. All right. And, you know, once again, you know, you read about her autobiography and, you know, her foundation, her moral foundation in which she's coming from, coming out of the civil rights movement, whatever the case is, you know what I'm saying? You know, and those were the set of values that she stood on, and she was a proponent of, you know, breaking the barriers that the white supremacist system has placed in terms of getting elected to office, and that's what motivated her. And this came after the fact that, you know, they began to sign legislation that, you know, was against people that was opposed to black people holding office or women holding political positions. You got to get into all that. I mean, you were just kind of running names and, you know, accomplishments. Cool. But how does that apply to your overall argument? You know, so this is what, you know, was up to question pertaining to how the judges were seeing it. And once again, it's a result of you're not emphasizing. And maybe, you know, what you mentioned earlier in the round, because you laid the foundation to that early in the round. I was paying attention enough to pick up on that, you know, so maybe others didn't pick up on that. So that's why you gotta continue to emphasize those points. So 1 second. 1 second. Yeah, so you know, so yeah, definitely. Those are the things that was the area concern, you know, right, I agree with the statement Domo made. Like, yeah, that has to be pushed. That's very important. That's a very important part of your argument, to push that envelope. Keep on pressing that button of emphasizing that point. You know what I'm saying? Because it definitely it can get lost in the sauce, and that is definitely what the case was. You know what I'm saying? That's definitely what the case was. And from hearing the judges, and now they could correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm just telling you how they gave their explanations when I talked to them after the debate. They all was in agreement that Anonymous, the way he did stuff, made it more difficult for them to judge, you know, in a sense. Like, you know, it was almost like Anonymous won the debate, but he really didn't close the deal type of thing. You know what I'm saying? Like he had the argument, but he didn't close the deal. You know, it's almost like when a question be posed, because Taz did a great job at opposing, you know, some of the things that was being said. You know, he did a good job at opposing some of the things that were said. But in terms of the overall argument, I think that, you know, Anonymous had the argument, and it was up for Taz to, you know. So, it seems to me like, you know, they said it was a draw, but when I'm listening to them, they was focusing more so on, you know, on the one hand, Anonymous, and he made his points, but he did not emphasize, and he did not, you know, bring it home. It's some of the terms that was using, bring it home, you know, and so some questions was left in the air, according to them, and on the other side, they just believe that, you know, he kind of was making two different arguments he was going from can, and we're going to get into that in a second. He was going from can to should, and, you know, because his argument, like, yeah, we shouldn't because we can't. You know, so he was going from we can't into we shouldn't, and, you know, he was kind of doing both, and that's why I said he was kind of all over the place with some of his argument. That's how I'm talking about Taz on that, you know. So, and, you know, so in terms of, like, you know, the premise, and you know, those were the examples, you know, to answer his question, because he made the statement that he didn't use any examples. This is what Taz said in the previous interview. No, he actually did use a lot of examples, and these are some of the examples, and he, at the end of the debate, he ran off maybe like 10 more. Those were examples. You know, I think that what he should have said was that, yeah, he was just, this is what I would have said if I was Taz. I would have said, but he showed Shirley Chisholm, but he didn't really show how moral standards made her do that. I would have pushed the envelope, even though I already knew that the moral standards was, you know, based off of how Anonymous, you know, laid it down in his premise, you know, that he submitted. But I would make him answer that. You know, okay, what was so moral about that from a standpoint? And since he was taking the religious route, I would have used that. Like, yeah, so what was moral about that? I would have made him have to say it. You know what I mean? He didn't do that. You know, because he said they didn't use examples. No, the examples was used. Used a lot of examples. That wasn't the issue. The issue was, you know, actually bringing this thing home. You know. Once again, as Daniel Hayru said, you know, bringing this thing home to show, you know, the changing moral standards. And he did say it in the beginning of the round, but he didn't emphasize it throughout the debate, because he laid down the 8 areas of human activity, nearly fuller, and that's why he laid it down in the beginning to explain, like, okay, I'm showing you all these areas of activity that white supremacy actually controls, and now I'm going to show you the people. So these are the moral standards of the people that actually are challenging those things. This is what his argument was. But it was it's a long round. So in the beginning, he actually he went into what he's going to be talking about and the examples that he's eventually going to show. You know, so I understood the bigger picture. You know, I understood. I followed him all the way through. You know what I'm saying? Because sometimes niggas be eating corn chips or smoking weed and they kind of miss a couple of words here and there, and then they, you know, begin to focus in, you know, towards a certain pep, and they say, well, you didn't say who the, but he did say that. He did say in the beginning, I will be focused on the human, all the 8 areas of human activity and how white supremacy controls that, and then I will show how the standards, you know, to combat that from the people, and that's just based off of their action, because he's saying that white people did not want her to be a politician, but she's a politician. So that in itself speaks for itself what her moral values was. Her moral values in a light of white supremacy, where everybody's white in this position. So it really goes without saying that, well, her moral standards had to be centered on her understanding the value of blackness and her understanding the value of a black person being in that position. And she did not allow the system of white supremacy to deter her from actually pushing the envelope forward and becoming the first woman into Congress and the first African American to seek nomination, because that was never heard of. So she had her set of moral standards that she went by that combated white supremacy. This is what he's saying. But once again, it has to be emphasized for the dumb motherfuckers. Let me pull back off my ego. Excellent point, Anonymous Hebrew. But once again, it has to be emphasized.
States from one of the two major political parties? Are you serious right now? What about religion? Malcolm, he's sitting there telling you to leave your religion at the door. What about sex? Now we're talking about the black family now. The black family.
Now you see, and I would have did the same thing that Taz did with that statement right there. You know, leave your religion, because Taz took the religious position. You know, that's why he showed the Israelites with the 14-year-old. You know, he took the religious position, like, you're gonna allow the religion, and I think that I don't know what exactly what the decisions that was made pertaining to what Anonymous actually, you know, decided why he took the road that he took. But maybe certain things like that he did not want to have to engage, so he took a more different route. But it made it more difficult for people to understand totally your argument. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, it's always wins and losses, and then you got to weigh out which is the more effective thing. And I just think that would have been the more effective thing. Yeah, he's going to have that. He's going to have that. He's going to have that. You know what I'm saying? But, you know, whatever stuff, you know, religious fundamentalism and all the different areas that he could have, you know, tackled. But I just think that it would have been a lot easier for you as far as with your argument. Because what you're doing is like you took it. It's almost like he forced you in a way to not engage a moralistic standpoint from a Judeo Christian perspective. You know, you kind of shied away from that. And it made that, in turn, made it more difficult for the judges to totally understand your point that you were making when you were using these examples. You know? So, definitely, and that goes to, you know, credit to Taz, you know, and maybe he kind of, you know, made you close that door out of fear of what he may say in response. So, you know, but I just think that probably would have been the best way to make it more digestible to everyone else, you know.
I agree with you, brother. This is just a random black family. This is how much we was already on the same page. Because the black family should be a leader. What about war? What about Medgar Evers, a military veteran who comes back, works for the NAACP, and actually investigates Emmett Till's murder? He does all of these great things. You're telling me that's not influential? Now,
okay, so yes, it's influential. Of course, it's influential. Very powerful brother. You know, but see, that's not the area.
Family should be a leader.
That's not the area that you should be focused on. What you should have said. This is what I would have said. Look, Medgar Evers, you know, worked for the NAACP, took him all over the state of Mississippi. He organized boycotts, voter registration drives, and demonstrations, as well as investigated violence against African Americans, such as the 1955 murder of 14-year-old Emmett Till. Evers' prominent position in the NAACP and advocacy for the rights of African Americans prompted numerous threats from the white supremacist groups. And then what I would have said to that, what he did say was that, yeah, he fought in the war. He actually was a veteran, military veteran, and he used his talents that he learned from this quote-unquote white man's military, that, you know, they gave him these talents to fight for white supremacy. That's what their moral standards was, that we're going to train this nigga to go and fight in a white supremacist war for the benefit of white supremacy. What he did was took those skills and took those talents, and he began to form organizations or become involved in the black community that actually, brought levels of justice and, you know, demonstrations, and, you know, he was an investigator. So those are some of the things that he learned from being a military officer, a military veteran. So he would take those talents and he would begin to use it for the betterment of African Americans to get them justice in an unjust system that they were living in at the time. He even dealt with the Emmett Till situation. So him coming out of the war, he could have done anything. He could have been the white man's nigga. He could have did all that. But he had a set of moral principles. He had a set of moral standards that was geared into the betterment of African Americans. You know what I'm saying? These are his moral principles. But once again, I understood the whole argument. It kind of goes without saying, in a sense. But in terms of a debate, you got to make even the dumbest motherfucker, you know what I'm saying, understand the argument. You know what I'm saying? Because there's levels. You got a motherfucker that understands quickly, and then you got the motherfucker that say in the back of the bus. They on the short bus. So you got to break it down for even the niggas on the short bus. You know? Because it speaks for itself. It speaks for itself in terms of, you know, okay, military trained, you know, he come home, he used the talents to help the black community. So it's obvious that he had a set of principles and moral standards according to how Anonymous defined moral standards. He had a set of moral standards, you know, and he's considered to be a black leader. So he was focusing on moral standards. So if everybody was like Medgar Evers, you know, or had the mindset of Medgar Evers, they would do things that Medgar Evers did, which would have an impact on the white supremacist system. So, do everybody think like Medgar Evers? No. You got fucking Lil Wayne out here, and then all the other motherfuckers out here. I don't know, the new people, you know, Baby and all them motherfuckers. You know what I'm saying? The Smile and Beguile for the Beast. They don't have the same moral standards of Medgar Evers. You know? So as a result, you're not getting Medgar Evers shit. These are your new black leaders. Baby. Little Baby, or whatever his name is. You know? So they should focus on changing those moral standards. No, we shouldn't be acting like Baby. We should be acting like Medgar Evers. So this is how you got to present it. So it could be clear.
What about war? What about Medgar Evers, a military veteran who comes back, works for the NAACP, and actually investigates Emmett Till's murder? He does all of these great things. You're telling me that's not influential? Now, let's deal with present time. What about William Darity Jr., who's fighting for reparations? What about Q Butter? You telling me Q Butter, who's...
Once again, like the moral standards. So we get it, you know. We get it. You know, but the examples were shown all the way to Stacey Abrams. You know, she pops up on the little videos about she's you know, calling the shit Jim Crow 2.0. You know, is what she calls it. And that this is new ways of them actually trying to you know, disenfranchise black people once again from voting. She's up on that. So what made her look into that? What made her begin to peep that out and now begin to now inform us, for her to now spend money on, when I click on the YouTube page, that would pop up? She's that concerned that she's putting money into, you know, when I click on the YouTube page, that commercial pops up? Yeah, make sure you be aware of this Jim Crow 2.0. They're trying to find new laws get passed so they could re-disenfranchise blacks. She decided to do that, to inform us about the tactics of the white man and what they're trying to do to once again take away our rights to vote. You know? Why? Because she had a set of principles and moral standards that she stood on. And she know that all black people don't understand the laws and how it can be manipulated like she does. So she used her talents to actually now help better the black community. She's a black leader, and she has a set of moral standards. That's how you got to present it. Now, running down her basic information, all lovely, and like I said, you know, we can see, you know, from her accomplishments that she does have a set of moral standards. But you know, this is a debate. You know, so we get it, you know. So yeah, this is what I'm actually talking about. Wasn't sharing screen, but so let me see. Take this down here. So I'm just saying, you know, since I'm the judge, I'll stand on it now. This is what I'm seeing in the actual debate. Now, I didn't know that I was going to be, you know, I didn't know that I was going to be a, you know, the judge that decides the debate, you know. That could be talked about. Now, I'm going to let y'all know, right? I mean, y'all heard the debaters. But they wasn't even half as pissed off as I was. I literally had trouble sleeping last night. How mad I was at the judges for all saying that it was a tie in a championship debate. That's what Domo was saying. Now I stand up for the judges, you know, and you know their decisions is respected, you know. But I was pissed off. Me and you know, since I know Iman personally, me and him had a very strong argument. You know what I'm saying? Me and him had a very strong argument. You know? And so I understand that. I understand that part of the situation. But like, nah, nigga, you're not coming on here, nigga. Who the fuck is you? Who the fuck you think you is, nigga? You know what I'm saying? Who the fuck you think you is, you coming on here, nigga? Thinking you gonna come into our circle and then say what the fuck you want about what's going on with the debate league because you lost. Get the fuck out of here. Better run over to your motherfucking channel with those women. Fuck out of here, nigga. Calling nigga bitches and all this type of stuff. You know what I mean? That's what I got an issue with. I don't know too many niggas that bark loud as me. I don't know too many niggas that is possible. I do this. Take your ass over there, nigga. But back to the topic at hand. You know what I'm saying? Niggas bring a motherfucker in with open arms and he think he's like running shit. You better take your ass back over there. Niggas ain't give that nigga nothing but love. Now everybody's against him. Word. Like, come on, bro. Chill with all that shit. Now, yeah, the tie and all that. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like I said, when y'all was going in on that, I ain't say shit. Because I agree with y'all. You know what I'm saying? For instance, with the tie and all that shit. But to make it like, oh yeah, they was all against me from the beginning. And niggas was telling me. So that means you was talking to niggas that don't fuck with the league. More clues. That means you was conversing with niggas that don't fuck with the league. Yeah, these niggas was telling me, you know, they was in my ear telling me, who the fuck you talking to? All the while you're winning. All the while you're winning. Motherfuckers voting for you. Niggas even voted you in. Because I didn't even want you in the fucking playoffs. Because you came at the end. It was the debaters. No, Solar let them in. I wasn't going to give you Rookie of the Year. It was the debaters. No, Solar, you know. Debaters and the judges. Now, all of a sudden, they're all against you all of a sudden. Melvin voted for you. Now he's against you. Now it's the Izzy League. Yeah, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, come on, bro. But this is just the way it goes. It's all good, AOI. I don't know if that's suave or, you know. You know what I'm saying? Oh, now I got a secret cabal with Orthodox Moore. I don't know how the fuck he got brought into this shit. I got a secret cabal with Orthodox Moore and Yara. Everybody that didn't judge the debate. Come on, bro. That's what annoys me. You know why? Because I've been dealing with that shit since season 1. I've been dealing with that shit since season 1. Every time a nigga lose, is this conspiratorial shit. Yeah, niggas was in my ear telling me the whole time. Who the fuck you talking to? Why you turning around and chilling with us? Who the fuck you talking to? To be telling you, yeah, don't fuck with them niggas. They gonna, you gonna see. Who the fuck you talking to? Do you ever bring that shit up to y'all niggas? All the while he's talking with y'all, these niggas is in his ear? You know? Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be some decisions that you don't like, bro. But this is the thing, like, you know what I mean? And this is, you know, even with the thing with Chris Harris, you know, he win in the season, but soon as he loses, then he gets an attitude. After he won, like, 8 straight debates. What you think he was going to win forever? Like, what the fuck? Niggas don't know how to take L's? You know what I'm saying? And you're dealing with humans. So humans do make mistakes, bro. Humans do make mistakes. But and I ain't got no problem with them saying, well, like, yeah, well, you know, he didn't see that. You know what I mean? How you didn't see that? And I ain't got no problem with shit like that. I got a problem with niggas saying shit like, oh, yeah, they really wanted an anonymous to win because they don't really fuck with me like that. So they was, you know, working that's what I got a problem with. And you're not gonna be coming on here naming the topic the Izzy League. That's season 1 shit, bro. You don't know that we is battle tested for that type of shit, bro. You're not the first motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? We did it every season. We deal with a version of this shit. And there's always the new motherfuckers that don't get it. And this is what I was saying to the nigga. Yeah, it's all good now. You're smiling. You're smiling and it's all fun. You're a little naive, is what I'm saying to him. When you chose that topic, I'm looking at this now. When he chose that topic, I'm like, you're a little naive, bro. Oh, no. You know? It's all good. And then when you lose, and that was a conspiracy. And that's why I came on there. You're having a topic. You're talking about the topic. You got Anonymous and Yara in the background. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, oh, like, you better be careful what you're agreeing on. That's why I came on there. I did it my way. Because I'm not about to walk a motherfucker across the street holding his hand. So I give clues. It was just like a jail talk. It was jail talk I did to him. I remember one time, you know, I'm going to my story lane now. I remember one time I was locked up and a situation happened. So, you know, the cell blocks are connected to each other. It was a guy on the other side. Ironically, his name was Unk. You know, he was on the other side of the jail block, and I was at the end. So we would talk through the bars. So I'm actually cool with this person. So something happened. It was a young dude, because he was a little older. Maybe he's a little older than me. So, you know, the young guys that's in their 20s, because at the time I was like 29. So, you know, he actually comes in there, and they had a situation. So he calls the dude over there, and he grabs him and pulls him against the bars twice. Bing, bing. Whatever happened, I don't know what happened. So, you know, everybody laughing at him, you know, whatever he did. So, the dude, the young man, he was a little nigga too. And the dude, Unky, he's a pretty big dude, you know, solid, you know. He's not wasn't that tall, but he was, you know, muscle dude, you know. So, the dude, the young man, when they open up the gates for child, he walks over into his cell block, and he's acting like he's on the phone. Now, you know, this is a Philly, so this was during the time of Maghrib, the prayer of Maghrib. And that's the, you know, the prayer when the sun goes down, you know. So they're lining up for Salat over there. And the dude is on the phone. So I see Unc he's about to, he don't see the young man. So I says to Unc, I says, I didn't know you could have visitors past 7 o'clock. And he looked at me like, what you talking about? I said, you got a visitor in your cell block. He picked up on it. So he's looking around. What the fuck is this nigga talking about? And then he sees him at the phone. So he stopped. He gets up. And he's looking to see if he got anything on him. And then, you know, so once they made eye contact, Unc beat him up and whatever. You know, that you know, whatever. He beat him up. So, going back to the... going back into the... I get my stories and shit. Going back into, I'm applying this to that. That's what I was doing with Taz. Be careful what your ass is agreeing on. You know what I'm saying? Because that's why you had to do all that extra shit. Oh yeah, I got a way that I'm going to do this, and I'm got a way to doing that. And you know, I'm you know, can, you know, the reason why we shouldn't is because we can. And the reason why you got to do all that shit is because you wasn't on fucking point when you was agreeing on the fucking topic. That's why you had to do all that. And that's why you lost. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? The topic is part of the debate. And you say, no, we ain't got to be arguing. We ain't got to be arguing over the topic. All the while, Anonymous like, okay, yeah, give me a day or two to think about that. Let me see. We should, right? We should. He said he's leveraging the whole way through to make it totally impossible for you to win the debate. You don't see that though. Then you want to turn around and cry after the fact. Yeah, that topic is important. Now you know. we 3 seasons in, bro. So I believe this is Taz's round. Who went first? Him? Yeah, I think Anonymous went first, so this would be his round.
We have a system out here that is...
All right.
We should not... Again, we're here to talk about the moral standards in the black community. The moral standards of the black community thus far have basically revolved around how we've lived in this country. At one point, you couldn't even look at a white woman. You weren't supposed to look a white man in the eye. You weren't supposed to be around more than 4 people at a time, especially not in a car. So I'm here to make sure you understand that a black leader's job is to understand, not to dictate or preside over a black community. So when you say, should they? No, they absolutely should not be involved in regard to morals. The argument tonight is based on morals. Why would they focus on individual people's morals when we have a system out here that is doing us bad?
Okay, so y'all could clearly hear his argument, which is very powerful. So his argument is, why should we focus in on morals when the system is doing us bad? Very powerful position, But once again, how are you defining morals? And is it in line with how Anonymous Hebrew is defining morals? That's the area. That's the gray area, because he's saying that his argument was the values that the individual have, not predicated around any religious or Judeo-Christian type of standard. So your argument would be powerful, and this is me actually now really understanding why maybe Anonymous Hebrew took the non-religious position, because really now you're arguing a point that he's not even making. You know what I'm saying? Like, from a because I can only see, because it's definitely with either way you look at it, it's definitely not what Anonymous is saying. If you're looking at it from a religious standpoint, or if you're looking at it from a position of the value systems or indoctrination or whatever the case may be, because you're making a separation from focusing in on white supremacy, or from a political standpoint. You know what I mean? Because that's one of the areas that they actually use to keep us, quote unquote, in our place. And from maybe a more Judeo-Christian religious perspective, for example, I'm not going to be saying stuff, and this is what was actually argued about a few minutes ago when he was doing his stream, right? He said, well, yeah, he spat off a statistic of 48% of people is not married, because in the Bible it says that you should be married. We're not going to be getting into everybody's household, is what he's saying. That's his argument. We're not going to be getting into people's household. So it was, I'm assuming he could correct me if I'm wrong, but it was more so attacking, the moralistic standpoint. More, it seemed like it had a sort of, attaching maybe a particular religious doctrine, but it definitely was not as broad as what Anonymous was actually defining it. And that's why he used the example of, he said, leave religion at the door. That's part of his moral standards once he left the Nation of Islam. Malcolm X said that, leaving a religion at the door. So now he has a set of values that he stands on to make him even say that. Him learning his lesson from being a part of a religious movement that kind of segmented themselves and ostracized themselves to not even want to work with other people like Martin Luther King, etc. He learned his lesson from that and said that, well, now moving forward, I'm going to have a more broader understanding that I could work with people and push that aside. So those was his moral standards for him to prompt him to say those things. He had a set of standards now that he learned his lesson from being in the Nation of Islam and what that resulted in. And to now him saying that, well, yeah, we're not going to really deal with that because that's what's keeping us divided. So let's now operate on what we have commonality on. Those was his moral standards he stood on for him to express himself in that way. So that's kind of the angle that Anonymous is coming. Taz, on the other hand, is coming from the standpoint of, this is morals, and this is like, almost like the preacher telling you, like, yeah, make sure you pray to Jesus, and make sure you pray, and make sure you do this, and you better not be running to that club and committing fornication. You know what I'm saying? You better not be, this is the vibe that I'm getting. As opposed to why this preacher telling you that you should not be, fornicating and committing adultery and drinking and smoking weed. While he's telling you all that shit and telling you what you're not to do. Meanwhile, the white man is kicking us in the ass. Meanwhile, the goddamn white man is running around here, creating policies to further keep us at the bottom, So he should be focusing in on that. Why is you sitting up here telling me about what I should be doing for smoking weed? That is not our biggest problem. Me smoking weed and me getting some pussy is not the biggest problem. The problem is this goddamn white man is on my goddamn neck. Can you please, black leader, can you please focus in on that instead of focusing on my moral standards? That's what Taz is arguing. You know what I'm saying? And whether he wanted to specifically deal with it from a religious standpoint, that's up for debate. You gotta ask him, but that is what I'm getting out of what he's saying. You know? And understanding that, that's not what Anonymous was saying. His thing was a little bit more broad. So,
no matter where you look at across the board, historically or the present, the black leadership has failed in regard to changing the dynamics of white supremacy, which has molded our understanding of what morals are.
Okay, so this is going into the can't. Meaning that they fail, meaning that they can't do it. And when I say that it fluctuates from, the should to the can't, because like he said, his argument was that the reason why we shouldn't is because we can't. At the same time, he's presenting an argument suggesting that, as what I just was saying, that, well, we shouldn't because there's bigger fish to fry. You understand what I'm saying? So that's the two different arguments. You know what I'm saying? Because he's on the one hand saying, well, yeah, preacher, don't be worried about me smoking weed. And this is not what he's literally saying, but this is my understanding, just to make it clear, because I make things clear to you guys. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, yeah, preacher, don't be focusing on my morals, or don't get into my household, as what he said when it pertains to showing the percentage of marriage. So he's saying that, well, yeah, don't get into my household about who I'm fucking and whether I jumped over a broom and put her in a nice dress and had the ceremony. Don't focus in on that. Focus in on this shit. The white man is now putting stop and frisk in our damn community. Focus in on that. So that's one of his arguments. And then at the same time, he's saying that, well, when you try to do that, you failed at doing it. Those are two different arguments to me. One saying that, black leader, please stop worrying about who I'm putting my dick in and focusing on stop and frisk. And then saying that, well, when you focus on a stop and frisk, you're gonna fail at doing that. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying. Those are two different arguments. But with that being said, he had a hell of a way of expressing his points of view. But that's what I quickly picked up on. That which one is it? Which one is it? Is it preacher focus in on that and leave the moral standard aspect alone? Or is it preacher, you're going to fail at doing that? So, I mean, if you fail at doing that, why even try to do it? Is what would be the question. I just think those are two different arguments, in my opinion.
And so we have to go into this with a clear understanding of what we're dealing with. Nobody considers the moral standards of the black community when they're writing the law. That is why there's a huge disparity between us and them when it comes to prison. Black leaders need to get focused on changing that. They don't
see how it fluctuates from, he said that they failed at doing it, the reason why they shouldn't. Remember, his argument was right. The reason why they shouldn't is because they can't. Now he's begging the question, why don't you do that? Why don't you do that?
They don't necessarily need to be out inside somebody's community in somebody's face. They need to figure out why there's such a disparity in this system. But instead of arguing versus the system, what they find themselves doing is talking to black people, right? Until they find themselves in a jam. Because see, your black leaders, as they've evolved, we need to understand what it looks like today to be a black leader. You could end up looking like Grandmaster Jay, in trouble yourself after marching around with black men talking big. Well, now that black man did that work, and now nobody's there to help that black man. So why you talking about what black leaders need to be focused on? Focus on helping ozone. Why you focused on what somebody doing in their home? You ain't
Once again, he's now saying he went back to the can't, from the can't to now he's saying that once again the which is a good point. it's a good point that like Jerry Master J, you know, why is you focusing on the 48% of people not out of wedlock and when you know you got this man that got locked up for shooting a white police officer and y'all not really doing nothing about it, you know. So from a standpoint of the moralistic aspect, what is the moral values of Jam Master J? You know, what's the moral values of Jam Master J for him to, you know, spout all this pro-black rhetoric? But then when it comes down to crunch time, he's quiet as a mouse, you know. And it's because of that this is why we shouldn't, you know, focus in on the moral standards. This is why we shouldn't, you know, focus on the moral standards. Get that motherfucker out of jail by any means. You know, get him out of jail. You telling us what we need to be doing and what we need to be eating and how we need to be praying and how we need to be getting married and all that shit. That's not going to change the fact that, you know, they done put this man behind jail, you know, on some fuck shit, you know. Whatever the case is, you know what I'm saying? So, that's his argument. You know, so that would be the argument from the position of, you know, having this understanding of what he perceives to be moral according to his definition of morality. Was just use that for, you know, because obviously they have, you know, that's the area, that's what I said before, the area of disagreement was their understanding of what each one considered to be, you know, the moral values. That's the obvious that was sitting out like a sore thumb the whole debate, and really was never engaged by either one of them to engage that argument. Well, what did you consider to be moral? And what is your understanding of moral? You know, because he's arguing from a standpoint of, these moralistic arguments from a standpoint. And I'm gonna say this, and maybe, you know, like I said, is you feel free to correct me if I'm wrong on this assessment, but, you know, like a Judeo-Christian type of morality. You know, that's why it's like the marriage is being thrown into it, and, you know, things of that nature. Or you're in my household, meaning that like my way of life and how I conduct myself on a daily basis is what's being critiqued, as opposed to systemic things that's going on with the overall system of white supremacy. You know, and you as a black leader, you know, should not be focused in on that. That shouldn't be a top priority. The top priority you should be, as a leader, you should be focusing on what the overall system is doing, and try to have an impact on that to help better our lives. That's what you should be focusing on. Because whether I pray inside of my household and I don't eat pork, when I go outside, I'm still going to be pulled over by these damn police officers. I'm still going to be pulled over by these police officers. They're still going to treat me in a racist way. They may shoot me. They may kill me. Why? Because our black leaders are so worried about how I'm praying. And if I'm married to a woman, as opposed to, you know, solving those problems. And here's an example right here, Jerry Master J. Here you have this individual, you know, formed this organization, but, you know, he don't really want to stand on the rhetoric that he's spewing. You know, he actually talk about this militancy and, you know, shoot the white man and all this, but when it came down to shooting the white man, he turned around and quiet as a mouse. They took one of his soldiers, a soldier that was willing to risk his life, you know, and stand on the principles, you know. You know what I mean? That's what I would have been saying in terms of what, because Anonymous did go first, so he had to kind of finagle that, you know. But the way he's presenting it, now, it is kind of, Anonymous is not saying that. I mean, he's really not making this distinction from a Judeo-Christian perspective or religious type of moralistic value system. He kind of brought in the scope into like the set of principles, whatever religion, you could be atheist and have these principles, you know, of these moral principles. Like I even though I don't believe in God and I'm an atheist, I still won't kill another man, and you know, I still don't. So I'm dealing with each person, you know, their particular set of principles, and by their actions. Like I form a, like, for example, this is an atheist, and this is nobody uses it in a debate, but I'm just giving an example. Like an atheist. Okay, I made a I'm a billionaire atheist, and I made this company that produces vegetation products, you know, for people that don't eat meat. I created this company you know, that creates, you know, vegetarian sausages, vegetarian chicken strips, you know, quote unquote chicken strips, but they're just veggie, you know. And I decided to, so it's safe to say that, you know, it could be argued that, you know, outside of maybe finance, that would be a good rebuttal to that. But it could be argued that, you know, the reason why he's doing that is because, you know, he had a set of moral standards that, well, I don't eat meat. So what are we going to eat? And, you know, certain things that, you know, the people like with me eat, you know, they like. So I'm going to create a version of that just to get them off the meat. So he's standing on some moral principles. And when you dig a little deeper, this guy is a part of, you know, cruelty to animals organizations, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You know, cruelty to animals organization. And he's really against, you know, the idea of killing animals, you know, once you peeled off all the layers. You know, so that would be one aspect of understanding, like the moral standards. I think that what Tad's understanding was more so predicated around a more like a religious based type of morality. You know, that's going to be like in your daily functions and how you interact amongst your intimate, you know, the people that's closely knit to you intimately. Like that'd be my wife and my kids, you know, people that have the same type of belief system, etc. You know, so that's kind of what the issue is, you know, and they both never really engaged each other on that, you know, like understanding of the morality.
Focused on dealing with white supremacy if you ain't focused on helping ozone. But see, what I'm saying is your black leader who brought ozone to the forefront, well, he can't do nothing because white supremacy put him in handcuffs and told him to go sit down somewhere. That's the system that we need to be focused on, not someone twerking in a video. But
yeah, so once again, it kind of go from moral standard, like, yeah, black women shouldn't be shaking their ass in the video. And he's not saying that it's a Judeo-Christian perspective, but it's kind of like leaning towards like a sense of, oh yeah, you're degrading yourself, and you know, women that wear that type of clothes, type of thing. It's a religious-y, you know, it's kind of religious-y, you know. Because those, you know, because, you know, when you set a separate set of principles, it ties most likely into like maybe a Judeo-Christian type of understanding. And when you talk about Judeo-Christian, you're talking about the Western religions, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, you know, that they're against that. They're against like women, you know, wearing all provocative type of clothing and, you know, dancing in a sexual manner. It's kind of frowned upon. Now, you can have people with moral standards that may not be a Christian or whatever, you know what I'm saying, or from a cultural standpoint, that they don't do that either. You know what I'm saying? Based on the fact that he didn't say Christianity and, you know, Judeo-Christian, you could make that argument. You could say that, well, yeah, my grandma, she's an atheist, but she don't like when women run around here with Daisy Dukes on. Those are moral standards. So you're talking about black leaders now. You're applying that to black leaders of the black community now, and what their value system should be. You know, we know that Not Fucking Around organization, they made some Israelite statements, so it could be assumed that they, you know, that it's a good body of Israelites that, you know, is a part of that group. I think that's his argument though. Like he's actually pushing the envelope on, you know, this thing that they focus in on, and what they don't have to be focusing in on. They don't have to focus in on that, you know, because it's not productive and it's not dealing with the elephant in the room.
this is what I'm trying to make y'all understand about the black community and black leadership that has been acceptable. Instead of focusing on the black economics of that said community, they talk about themselves. They start running around and talking about what they need you to give to them.
Okay, so using Dr. Umar to suggest that there's some black leaders that have certain Ponzi schemes that is like a self-centered type of organization, that this guy is bloated ego. The bloated ego, you know, and he is this individual, once again, is not productive in the sense of actually solving any problems. And should black leaders focus on changing the moral standards? See how that applies to his argument.
To be a black leader, you could end up looking like Grandmaster Jay. You know, in trouble yourself after marching around with black men talking big. Well, now that black man did that work, and now nobody's there to help that black man. So why you talking about what black leaders need to be focused on? Focus on helping ozone. Why you focused on what somebody doing in their home? You ain't focused on dealing with white supremacy if you ain't focused on helping ozone. But see, what I'm saying is your black leader who brought ozone to the forefront, well, he can't do nothing because white supremacy put him in handcuffs and told him to go sit down somewhere.
So you see how he went from the shouldn't, you know, because he shouldn't be in my household, but then by the end of the sentence he's saying that, well, you can't. You shouldn't because you can't. That's what he's saying actually, you know, earlier, you know. So, but I believe that that's just two different arguments. So the shouldn't, I think that he should have focused in more on the shouldn't aspect and making a comparison. That's what he did with the well, you shouldn't be in my household, and you should be more so focused on getting this man out because he was a person that was rocking out. You should definitely make an effort into getting him out of prison, as opposed to focusing in on what's going on in my house. But then he goes into, well, the reason why you're not going to do that is because you can't. And so that's another argument, you know. So, you know, which one is it? You know, which one is it that you know? And that's what I meant when I was saying that he was kind of all over the place with it. But I think, you know, in terms of how he's framing morality, is definitely an effective strategy. But one thing that he did do that Anonymous didn't do was emphasize the point. He emphasized the point every time. He made it clear what his position was, and he redundantly repeated that. Redundantly repeated his point, which was the can't and the shouldn't. You know, the can't and the shouldn't. And so the now the information in itself is the issue with Taz, not the quality of the presentation. You know what I'm saying? The information itself is the issue, which would be the understanding of what was agreed upon when they said moral, because his idea of moral is different from Anonymous and what Anonymous is presenting. Because at this point, this is why Anonymous is saying, well, I agree with you, because Anonymous doesn't disagree with that. But what Anonymous would say is that, well, Grandmaster Jay, he formed the organization because he had a set of moral standards that he stand on. He had a set of moral standards, moral principles that he stood on. He seen an issue in the black community that he had to rectify. So he stood on some moral standards. Now, the proper way to rebut that after you heard him redundantly, you know, bring those things up, you know, the rebuttal would be, what about Jam Master Jay? He presented himself as if he stood on those moral standards. But when it came time to, you know, actually pull those guns out and do something, he didn't do that. You know what I'm saying? Now, he said that in the context of making a comparison, however, to you being in my household, when Anonymous wasn't really dealing with it from that aspect. You know what I'm saying? Like, he really wasn't dealing with it from a more, like, as I say, religious standpoint, you know. So, you know, it's kind of open. It's kind of open at this point. And I think that that's something that needed to be addressed by both of them, their understanding of moral.
That's the system that we need to be focused on, not someone twerking in a video. But this is what I'm trying to make y'all understand about the black community and black leadership that has been acceptable. Instead of focusing on the black economics of that said community, they talk about themselves.
Right. So now this is a shot at leadership in general. Like, this is what these black leaders do. Meaning that they aren't fit to be leaders. You know, the kind of like, I guess, you know, I'm just saying, but on the information, like, okay, while we have this problem, you know, black leaders need to focus on economics of the community instead of themselves. So this quote unquote black leader is not really a leader because he's so self-absorbed that, you know, he don't really address issues that can help better us as a collective. So he's questioning the quote unquote black leader being a leader, you know, which is another argument.
They start running around and talking about what they need you to give to them. You don't see the focus. You don't see the building. What you see is a long history of lost leadership where black people are not excelling, not growing, and we keep hearing it over and over and over and over and over. They're not even presenting a good image for black leadership, if you want to be honest. See, I'm here to make sure you realize that when I said black leaders, I literally meant everybody. Everybody who steps to the forefront, and then white supremacy puts them in front of you. See, when you say, should they be in my house? And I don't want Yahweh ben Yahweh in my house. So should he know? He couldn't anyway if he tried. But I don't want him in my house. I don't rock with Kwame Kilpatrick, although one day he may have been a black leader to you. I'm not a woman. Tarana Burke couldn't be a leader for me. Do you understand what I'm telling you? This is not something you can just.
Okay, so, you know, I guess the term "in my house" once again is going to, like, you know, standards that a person conduct themselves while they, you know, on a daily basis, like what they eat in, you know, maybe some sort of practices that they do, or you know how they conduct themselves, whether they're married or not, you know, how they're raising the kids, you know, things of that nature, like, you know, personal things. You know, like it was a story time. Like across the street from me when I was growing up, it was I think they were like a form of Israelites, but they had their own things. They weren't Israelites because he had a white woman, so they definitely weren't Israelites. But they was like had this particular unique Bible belief thing. So my mom brought a case of little hugs, you know, the little hugs, and you know, so she told me to give some to the kids across the street. So I gave, you know, I gave one to the, you know, and this is like 88. So we like 8 years. I'm like 8 years old. We around playing, and so I'm the same age as the son. You know, so you know I give him the juice. What he did was he went inside of the house to ask his dad could he drink that. You know, and he told me that he didn't know whether he could drink that or not because of their beliefs or their moral standards. You know, looking back on it, those were their moral standards, their moral principles. So that's more of an intimate thing, like, you know, what they eat and what they, you know, drink and all that different things. So when he's saying that, making a comparison of, you know, being in the household, that's what I'm getting out of that. Like, you know, don't be in there, you know, telling me that I can or can't do this when you know, there's another issue at hand. And he's doing a good job at emphasizing and re-emphasizing that point, you know.
This limit to just throwing it around. Black leaders, where them black leaders at right now where my men there dying? Tell your fucking black leaders to go get him out. Yeah, I just cussed in a debate. I'm sorry, you can dock me. But
they should have docked you. If it was that close. I mean, if it was that close and it was a tie, I would rather for them to dock your ass. You know, they should have docked you on that. I don't think they docked you on that. You know what I mean? That would have decided the debate that we even had to do all this shit. But you know, he understanding this point. You know what I mean? How come y'all not getting Mumia out of jail? These principles. You know what I mean? Mumia is still locked up, and then once again, this is feeding off the, you know, the statement about why you all up in my household. You got Mumia locked up. You know, who is getting him out? Who is getting him out? So yeah, yeah, I've been on here long enough, you know, going into this shit, but But I definitely gotta go. So I didn't waste a lot of time fucking with y'all niggas. So well, we could continue this, you know, breaking down this whole thing. You know what I mean? Breaking this whole thing down at a later time. Cause your boy got some money to make. You feel me? So, you know, in conclusion, I mean, you know, shout out to, you know, the whole thing. Cause with all that being said, right? All the judges, and they made their decision. They said it was a tie and all that different type of stuff. I still think at the end of the day, the right decision was made. You know. You know what I'm saying? I still think the right decision was made. At the end of the day, with all that being said, I still believe that the right decision was made. Now, you know, moving forward in terms of, you know, what we're going to do as far as with that tie, and I'm looking at them, and I was arguing with the point about, nigga, y'all knew y'all had to make a decision. Like, they acting like they was oblivious. Like, nigga, make a decision. What the fuck are you doing? You know what I'm saying? This is a championship debate, bro. So, you know, it's definitely frustrating to have to deal with that. You know what I mean? But ultimately, I think that still with all that being said, the right decision was made. Yeah, that is what it is. You know what I mean? So, critique, yes. Disrespect, no. We don't play that over here. We don't play that over here. You know what I'm saying? We don't play that over here. So if you ain't down with the program, the door's that away. You know what I'm saying? You know how to talk to people. You know how to talk to people respectfully. You do it to Cynthia G all the time. Why? Because you get on her bad side, all the motherfucking views is going away. Yes, that's a shot. Yes, that's a shot. So you know how to talk to people. You don't talk to Cynthia G like that. I seen you debate her very respectfully. No, sissy, no sin. No sin. So if you ain't willing to do that same respect over here, then, you know, you go over there and do your thing. More power to you. You know? Yeah. With that being said, you know, we're gonna end this thing, and I don't know if somebody going live or whatever, but we'll end this thing. So with that being said, we got a little bit of time. We're gonna come on later on. We got Yara and the whole team coming on. Believe Iman Bashir. And they got some things to say about some certain people. So you're going to be in the building for that. It should be interesting. Alright? So once again, we're going to get up out of here for now. You know, yeah, like Yara said. I mean, that's been always the rule. We don't coddle nobody. We don't coddle nobody. You know what I'm saying? And yes, it's going to get brought up. Yeah. When I fire at everybody. Everything moving. There's going to be some innocent bystanders get hit when I'm firing. Because when you're disrespectful, then you're gonna get disrespected. Said I don't give a damn about all that shit. What you talking about, free spirit? I don't give a damn. What I'm saying is I'm hitting the soul when I'm saying. When I say shit, I hit the soul. I don't give a damn about none of that shit you talking. If you come on here disrespectful to Izzy League and all that shit, I don't give a damn. I'm gonna say some shit that you don't like. I do it with the best of them. So go over there and cry over there. Cry on your channel. Go over there and cry. But all that extra shit you're not doing over here. You know what I'm saying? I didn't disrespect her though. I didn't disrespect Cynthia G. I didn't say nothing disrespectful to Cynthia G. All I said was he knew how to talk to her because he knew that if he disrespected her, that she'll take away all the motherfucking views on his channel. That's what I said. No disrespect to Cynthia G. And the reason why I said it, because he knows it's true. And he don't like that. So if you want to throw shots, we could throw shots. So with that being said, we're going to get up out of here for now. We're going to be on, I think it's going to be 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to be on. That'll be on the Solar Vision Debate League channel. Once again, Guy Rod's going to come and do his thing. He may bring Imam Bai, share a couple others with him. I'm definitely going to be in the building for that. So we'll see you then, family. This is the league, man. Shout out to Swab Boss.